Imagine going to your future sister-in-law's big birthday bash, ready to celebrate. But then, your fiancé's mom, the queen of passive aggression, decides it's the perfect moment to hand you an apron and say, "Your waitress mother must have taught you well." Right in front of everyone. My blood ran cold. But what she didn't see coming was the absolute tsunami of karma that hit her just moments later, all thanks to my fiancé. Oh, it was a moment I'll never forget. So, a few weeks ago, my fiancé Mike and I got engaged. 7 years of dating, and we were finally doing it. I've always gotten along with his family, his dad, his sister Jess, they're great. But his mother? Sydney? She's a different story. She's never been nice to me, and I know exactly why. I don't come from the right kind of family. Mike's family is seriously wealthy, and Sydney is a total snob. She spent years looking down on me, making thinly veiled jabs. I've always tried to be pleasant, but it never matters. So mostly, we just keep our distance. Mike and I were not confrontational people by nature. So we let most of her petty behavior slide. It just wasn't worth the drama. But a few days ago, at Jess's 21st birthday party, things changed. This wasn't some quiet family dinner. Jess's dad threw a massive bash. And my own mother was there. That's why what happened next hit so hard. It was a public humiliation, aimed not just at me, but at my incredible mom. Mike and I arrived after work, so the party was already in full swing. My mom showed up a few minutes later. Then, Sydney called out to us, all saccharine sweet, asking my mom and me to come meet her friends. It felt fishy. My gut screamed it. Mike felt it too, because he stayed right by my side as she introduced us to a parade of strangers. Then, she beamed, "I want to officially welcome you into the family with a gift." For a fleeting second, I actually thought, maybe she's turning a new leaf? Maybe, after 7 years, she's finally accepting me. I was so wrong. She handed me a gift-wrapped box. I unwrapped it, confused, to find an apron inside. I'm not a great cook, nor am I passionate about it, so I just stared. My confusion must have been obvious, because then she said it. Her voice dripping with condescension, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Now it's time for you to get to work. I'm sure your waitress mother must have taught you well." Let me give you some context. I was raised by a single mother. My dad walked out before I was even born, never paid a dime. My grandparents helped babysit, but financially, they couldn't. So my mom dropped out of college, started working odd jobs. Waitressing was one of them. For years, until I was in middle school, she served tables, sometimes 2 or 3 jobs, just to keep us afloat. After that, she got into sales, which paid better. My mom and I know how hard our past was, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm proud of her. She never let me feel like we didn't have enough. I don't have generational wealth like Mike, and I don't care. The values my mom instilled in me are worth more than any bank account. I would never be ashamed of her past. But in that moment, at that party, I knew Sydney's only intention was to humiliate us. My mom's face crumpled. I froze. Literally everyone around us went silent. You could feel the awkwardness, the pity. But I didn't have to worry for long. Mike, my amazing Mike, saw the tears in my mom's eyes, saw me frozen in shock. Unlike his mother, he wasn't interested in a quiet humiliation. He grabbed the karaoke mic from a nearby stand, called everyone's attention. All eyes were on him. He started talking about how wonderful it was for his father to throw such an extravagant party for Jess's 21st. Then, the hammer dropped. He said, "You know, maybe a decade ago, my parents wouldn't even have been able to imagine throwing a party like this. And it's all thanks to Sydney's family." The room buzzed. What? Then it got worse. Mike revealed that almost 10 years ago, Sydney's parents, his maternal grandparents, had declared bankruptcy. They had become completely reliant on his dad to get back on their feet. It had been an incredibly difficult time. And while their entire family pretended it never happened, it was the truth. He said his own father, while doing well with his inherited business, still had a huge burden supporting them. His dad even had to postpone starting his own company, his lifelong dream, because he had to support Sydney's parents. The worst part? They weren't even willing to compromise on their lifestyle. They pretended that all the money they were spending was their own, never admitting they went bankrupt due to financial irresponsibility. Nobody knew it was his dad supporting them. Sydney herself never worked a day in her life, getting married right after college, making sure she could maintain the lifestyle she was used to, all thanks to his father. He ended by saying that until their very last breath, his maternal grandparents lived off his father's money. Neither Sydney nor anyone else ever spoke of it. The only reason Mike was bringing it up now? He wanted his mother to realize how absolutely hypocritical it was to demean me for my background and constantly imply I was a gold digger, when she herself was no less. He said, "At least my girlfriend's mother was an honest, hardworking woman. She made a life for herself, supported herself, raised my girlfriend, and was there for her parents without any help." Sydney, on the other hand, with all the resources in the world, she and her parents still ended up relying on my father for money. She's doing it even now. If my dad decided to leave her for one day, she'd be left with absolutely nothing and would have to rely on alimony that she doesn't even deserve, because she hasn't done a day of hard work in her life. He pointed out that he and Jess were practically raised by nannies and staff. Sydney's life consisted of expensive shopping sprees and exotic vacations, all thanks to his father's hard work. He finished, his voice cutting through the stunned silence. Giving my girlfriend that apron as a present, humiliating her, and bringing up how her mom used to be a waitress, that's not the dish you think it is. It's honestly just a pathetic attempt to put good people down. And I'm ashamed that you are my mother, just like you should be ashamed of your parents and yourself. Just like they left you nothing in the end, you will also be able to leave my girlfriend absolutely nothing of real value. As for her mom, even if she can't leave her anything financially, she's leaving her all the memories of good times, the values, the lessons she taught her. And that, Mom, is more than anything you have to offer. He grabbed my hand. He looked at my mom, invited her to come with us. And then we walked out. Nobody said a word until we were in the car. My mom finally broke down, thanking him. I just cried. Happy tears. I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, I'd chosen the right man. Honestly, it was a great day for us. Back home, after dropping my mom off, Mike even apologized for not standing up to his mother sooner. He thought if he had, she wouldn't have had the audacity to act like this. I don't blame him. I wouldn't have wanted to pick fights over petty things with someone I'd see constantly. Her attitude was bad, but it never truly hurt me, so we let it go. Nobody could have seen something this disrespectful coming. And his dad and sister have always been good to me, so fighting with Sydney would have made things awkward for everyone. But now, the rest of the family isn't so happy. It's been a couple of days since the party. Sydney hasn't tried to reach us at all. But his dad and Jess? We've had several heated phone arguments. Jess later told us that because of Mike's toast, Sydney was so humiliated she ended up sobbing hysterically and ran out of the house. I remember every detail Mike said, and I tried to include them here, so you can understand. His father said Mike's speech was unnecessary. If we were offended, we should have left or confronted Sydney privately, not made a public scene about personal family matters. He agreed Sydney was messed up, said he'd have stopped her if he knew. But Mike's reaction was extreme because he had a proper audience. Jess said Sydney is distraught, feels humiliated, especially because Mike brought up her deceased parents. She feels it was ungrateful. While Jess admits everything Mike said was true, she thinks it shouldn't have been public. They're upset that Mike exposed their family drama to so many people. But Mike and we believe we put up with her stupid remarks for too long. Her insinuation that I was a gold digger had gone too far. Some things cannot be left unanswered. This was one of them. While yes, it was personal, it had to be said. Sydney didn't hesitate to insult my mother and me publicly. So, we don't feel bad for humiliating her and her parents. I think that's fair. Mike's dad and Jess don't agree. We've been fighting a lot. I just want a solution. I'm tired of the back and forth. What do you think? Were we wrong to make that speech and publicly humiliate my future mother-in-law after she tried to shame my mom for her past? Update 1 *. Hey, Reddit. Thank you all so much for your comments. It really helped us think things through. Most of you were conflicted, and honestly, so were we. After talking to friends and my own mom, we decided to tell Mike's father and Jess that we were sorry for spilling private family details publicly. But we are absolutely not apologizing to Sydney. Even they admitted she was incredibly messed up. We agree that bringing up such personal things, especially without his father's comfort, wasn't ideal. What Sydney did was wrong, and they didn't approve anyway, so maybe we didn't need to drag them into it. For that, we're ready to apologize. For nothing else. Mike's family has always been nice to me, so I don't mind acknowledging that. But beyond that, we have nothing to apologize for, especially since Sydney hasn't apologized to us. I don't even care if she apologizes to me, but she needs to apologize to my mother. My mom has been nothing but kind to everyone, treating Mike like her own son. She didn't deserve that. Mike's family has always subtly defended me against Sydney before, and I expected them to do it now, when it really counts. It's been over a week since the party, and we haven't been on speaking terms with them. But we're sending an email now, acknowledging all this, and we'll see what they say. Oh, and a few things people asked. Yes, when I say we for the speech, I mean Mike and I are a united front. We're a team. Also, about Sydney's parents not working again? I don't really know. I only knew them briefly before they passed, and they were snobbish like Sydney. Mike explained that his family kept it quiet, but his grandparents inherited money, started a business, did well, then flopped due to irresponsibility. Instead of getting back to work, they just relied on Mike's dad. He kept it from them that it was a huge burden on him. I guess they just didn't care as long as their lifestyle was maintained. Update 2 asterisk. So 2 days ago, we sent that email. We didn't hear back until a few hours ago, and honestly, we have mixed feelings. Jess wrote back for both her and her dad. She said she understood things reached a breaking point for us, which is why Mike did something so extreme. But she said it was still wrong, and a half-hearted apology didn't make it right. Now everyone knows their family drama, which they kept secret for so long. She said they understood our position but felt it was unfair to them because now Mike's father and Sydney were the subject of gossip. They felt Mike had just messed up his own family's reputation while defending my honor or whatever. They also thought our apologies seemed half-hearted because we were just sorry they felt bad, not sorry we did it in the first place. I don't think they have a valid point there. But the one thing we all agree on is that Sydney was totally wrong. They acknowledged it in the email. They'd reflected and told Sydney she needed to apologize to us, that constantly playing the victim wouldn't work. Her being upset about Mike exposing her parents and calling her out publicly was hypocritical, since she tried to do the exact same thing to me and my mom. Everyone knows what Mike said was true, so she can't deny it. Now, she's not speaking to them either. She's completely on her own. I'm glad they're not siding with her. But emotionally, their email is confusing. We don't know how to react, so we're taking a couple of days to think before we respond. Any advice is welcome. Update 3 asterisk. Hey Reddit. It's been over 2 weeks since we last spoke to Mike's family. In my last update, we gotten their reply and had mixed feelings. After 4 days, we replied, telling them we were sorry we had offended them by speaking about something they didn't want public, but we were not sorry for having done it. Basically, we were sorry they felt bad, but we weren't backing down from standing up for ourselves. If that meant offending Mike's father and Jess, so be it. I could understand their need for privacy, but honestly, what Mike said didn't portray them negatively. It was all against Sydney, which felt fair to us. We were justified. We thought we could agree to disagree. But Mike's father wasn't happy. We spoke on the phone a couple of days later, and when we told him this, he got really mad. He said if we didn't think we had anything to apologize for, then he had nothing more to say to us. We were both disappointed. We thought he'd try to move past it. After he said that, we didn't try to reach out again. We were upset, but there was nothing more to say, and we definitely weren't apologizing for standing up for ourselves. About 2 days after that, Jess called us. She said Mike's father was very unhappy with how things turned out. And to make things worse, Sydney had even left home to stay with her sister, claiming everything had become too toxic for her to handle. Nobody's worried about her. She'll be back. We thought we could patch things up with Jess, but she said she wanted to remain in low contact for a few weeks until things cooled off. It's sad his family is acting this way. Mike acts like it doesn't affect him, but I know it does. I really hope they understand him soon and reach out. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. It's been over a month since my last update. And guess what? Last week, his family finally reached out again. And by his family, I mean his father and his sister. Sydney is still too proud to admit she made a mistake. But everyone knows the truth now, so we're just ignoring her. Mike's father called us up, invited us over for dinner to talk things out. We went. Sydney was there. She looked just as shocked to see us. But as soon as she realized it was us, she made a face and left the room. Mike's father just told us to ignore her. What else could we do? We had dinner, and then his father apologized for his behavior. He said maybe he'd been taking everything a little too seriously. He'd done some serious introspection over the past few weeks and realized we were right. None of us were wrong in our respective places. The best thing to do was just move on. He wasn't going to let this lose him his relationship with his son. Plus, Mike and I are getting married soon and he wants to be involved. No more passive-aggressive silent treatment. Jess basically just seconded everything her dad said. It didn't take us long to sort things out. We talked it out, and we've decided to let bygones be bygones. The bottom line is, they want us in their lives, and we want them in ours. As for Sydney, she can do whatever she wants. It doesn't concern any of us anymore. We don't even expect an apology from her. Either way, she's not going to be invited to the wedding. It makes no difference now. Have you ever had a family member try to publicly humiliate you, only for it to backfire spectacularly? Let me know your stories in the comments.